Wait, will you
Exactly.
will you have the ability to negotiate the same deal that you had to do before they made whatever that ruling is? The 3%, can you still negotiate to get a 3%?
Yes, you can
Yeah.
negotiate
Yeah.
it. The
Wait, so they just took rules away. So now it's just on both parties. You have more freedom to construct a deal.
what's been
That's what
taken
it seems
away
like.
is that the amount that they're paying you is no longer listed.
So you can't see what you're going to get up front.
And that provided stability where people would work with buyers and not have a problem showing pretty much any house, because there was always an advertised and you knew what you were getting up front without having to negotiate. Now you're not going to see if they're
Who's
even
not going to see?
the okay.
buyer's
So
agent.
yeah, so Kev, if
The agent or the consumer?
So Kev, if I'm working with you to buy a house, okay, I'm looking in the MLS and I'm like, here are the houses.
Wait, who are you and who am I?
I'm the agent and you're buying a house. I could show you basically any of those houses listed what they were going to pay me.
Oh, so if you're trying to find a house for your buyer, you don't know what they're going to pay you. So you're like, you might get screwed and show a house and it has a bad deal on it, and now you don't get paid.
Exactly.
Right. So if what happens,
But you have to show all the houses.
well,
because that's
I don't know what's going to happen in the meta now is if the listing agent doesn't offer any commission, I'm going to have to get it. How am I getting paid? I have to secure something through the buyer, through an agreement with the buyer saying, hey, if we find you a house, you got to pay me this much. Or if the seller's willing to pay it, they can pay it. But somebody got to pay me.
So you have to construct that before you start looking for the house?
If
or after?
when you sit down with me and want to hire me, I have to have that agreement in place. Otherwise, I could show you a house and get nothing at all. You see what I'm saying?
Well, so it just seems like more of an open market where
Yes.
you can negotiate things, and
Correct.
if you're a better negotiator, it's in your favor. If
But-
you're a better businessman.
But here's what the difference is. The buyer never felt the commission because it was coming from the seller side. So now, if you have an agreement with your buyer's agent, like Danny's saying,
But it used to come out of the seller side. Does that mean now the seller gets a bigger percentage of the deal? Or
Yep.
depending on what the agreement with the seller's agent. So the listing agent used to get 6% and then offer half of it to the buyer side.
so now they could potentially get the whole 6% based on
Or
the
they
way
would
the
say
deal is?
3% and then tell the buyer side, kick rocks, figure it out yourself, tell the buyer to pay you.
Which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Big fact, especially in the case like I just said.
Yeah.
Who has
And then-
13,000 to just put out of their
Yeah,
pocket
and then-
to buy a house?
I know.
God forbid they put 20% down.
So
Yeah, exactly. And
Wait,
then
does that
Ryan
change
the way
said
the
like
laws-
does that
getting
change the way-
$1,000 up front from a buyer. Like, what about the agents that aren't requiring that? They're automatically going to go to the agents that are. Well, this agent is not asking for $1,000 up front.
But you're setting
Sorry,
yourself, but that buyer's agent might set themselves up for failure because you show that you have a buyer's agency agreement, but you're saying I'm going to get the commission from the seller. If the seller ain't offering nothing, then what?
How can I do my job if I don't have a job?
That's why you need to secure your compensation.
That doesn't secure it.
Why not?
Because at the end of the day, just as an example, you might be contracted in a sense where, okay, we went up front and I said 1,000 and then 2.5%, or whatever that remainder is between that, if I can recoup it from the seller. Okay, well, what if the seller doesn't give you it? What if the buyer still can't pay it?
That's
Then
the
what?
problem.
You gonna take them to court
Right.
for them buying a house?
Now
How
we're
does
going to
that
have
make
even more
sense?
lawsuits. Go.
Wait a
Your
minute.
own client.
I feel like this is good for everyone except a bad buyer's agent that don't know how to do a business deal.
I agree,
'Cause-
to some degree. No, it's okay, Kevin.
And wait, hold on. And no one's talking about. You guys aren't talking about the way that it changes the way the seller positions himself as well. Because you could be a super aggressive seller now and say you just want 5%, and y'all need to go figure that out. No,
Yes, they could do that.
you could do that.
Right, they can.
But they
And
could
you
even do
have
that now.
dusty, desperate beginner buyers, and you're just leave them scraps.
The agent, yeah.
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 Or you can have someone that just won't deal with you and won't bring you their buyers because you're not offering anything.
Exactly.
Right. That could happen too.
And then that's the bigger
feel-
problem, because
yep.
the biggest problem is if a house sits on the market, your seller's going to have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be great for me to go ahead and sign these contracts with you and wait to the right point to pull out, just because I can.
True.
Wait, but well, I guess this is a circle now. But the buyer has to still present the houses though, based off would you say the fiduciary duty or whatever?
Yeah, that's like
That's messed up because now they're in a position where they have to do something.
well, that's why your agreement with the buyer's agent agreement with the buyer has to be equitable for everybody. Otherwise, none of this works.
But it does. It won't.
But
Not that it won't work
well, okay,
anyway.
what Danny's saying, which is right. So so if you're going to get a commission, if say you agree to 2.5% from the buyer, you get the house under contract, and now the difference of the buyer's commission is what's killing the deal. What do you do?
What do? You kill the deal. That's what you do.
Deal's dead.
As a fiduciary for the buyer, how can you kill their deal?
you say, yo, finish this on you.
Exactly, because they already knew up front.
They did know. But how many times do you get all the way to the end of a deal, and then the only thing to sacrifice is a bit of the commission to make it work?
That's different. That's on me.
But that's essentially what happens, except for it's not a little bit, it's $12,000.
Exactly. That's my point. My thing is, if you are giving a percent to put your house on the market, you are putting your name in the game based on the percent that you put out. So that percent needs to be available to any and everybody that's dealing with the house. Absolutely. So if that means that it only comes available once we go under contract, then that's cool as well. But in that moment that it becomes available, then that's when a negotiation has to start. Mm-hmm. And in that negotiation, if you don't go to where we need to go, and I can't fulfill this contract for my buyer, then the contract's null and void, because I can't fulfill that 2.5 that I put on my buyer's agreement. So it's dead. Like,
well, I think it also could be a really good thing because now you have some room to create leverage for yourself as a buyer's agent.
Yes.
Because you can do things. You can be more precise with your numbers and offer better deals or less good deals, and it's more skill.
So that is
you mean
what's going to happen.
Is that, you mean as, like, expand on that as far as the buyer's agent is concerned?
If you're the buyer's agent and there's no locked in, like, it seemed like before that deal was like you said, streamlined, where that just was the deal out of the 6%. But now there's more room to be creative and position yourself the way you want to position yourself to get more clients, because you could offer, you could be willing to take less and maybe do more volume of sales than the competition of other agents, or you could be more greedy and require more and maybe provide more, better service, but you get more money in X, Y, and Z. Versus before, it seemed like there was a very standard deal that the buyer's agent would do, which basically just kind of made you a commodity. But now you have room to create more value or less value, or get more money or less money.
Kev, that's very sharp of you to have never heard of this and to pick up on that, because that's my big takeaway is that, again, for the buyer consumer, I think it's going to be difficult for them. But for the buyer's agent, I think the top 10%, the top people that are smart and create a good perception of value and are able to like navigate through this, they're going to be able to provide their clients more value, and it'll be more valued because they're paying for it. So I think that good buyer's agents can really kill it, because right now you could pick any buyer's agent. They show up, they turn the lights on, and they don't really help you that much negotiating, and they don't really know a lot. But the buyer don't care because they're the commission. They're not paying the commission, so who cares? Now it's really going to matter who you pick if you decide to pick somebody. That's the problem. They probably might opt out. Or I think attorneys might pick up some of the slack, which I do not want to see, because I don't mess with an attorney.